Hello everyone, welcome to my hobby YouTube channel. My name is Ian and today I'm going to be talking to you about a book I read about a year ago called White Cargo. White Cargo is the very historically well written, detailed accounts of the British colonial slavery system that was written by Don Jordan and Michael Walsh. This book was released in 2008 and was released under the publisher's Mainstream Publishing. This book is about 320 pages long and will most definitely have you sucked into what you're reading. The content in it is magnificently written, but very poignantly and very sad a book to read. It's a book that I think that everyone should read. Everyone should have an understanding of what went on back in those times, the 17th and 18th century. And it's a time in Britain's history that I think they choose to ignore. And I think that we all hear about African slaves, how they were brought from Africa to work in various places like the Caribbean, Jamaica, the West Indies, and all these places and that, but we don't hear about kind of like white slavery or colonial slavery, and that's exactly what Michael and Dawn try to give to you as a reader. I would definitely say I think everyone has to read this book. In fact, I think they should teach this in schools. I really do, instead of gloating and kind of glorifying battles that countries have won against other countries in schools. And I think that they should give this from a humanitarian point of view. I think everyone should read this, and everyone should have an understanding of how inhumane we can treat each other, and this still goes on today. Human trafficking, this still go on today. But one thing sets human trafficking and slavery apart from now to back then is that I would imagine anyone that's caught up in human slavery today and human trafficking today would have some sort of degree of basic basic food, shelter, sanitation. If you read into the book from back then, the conditions would have been extremely horrific. You're talking about people who are taken away, swept from the streets, young kids, young toddlers, babies, adults, prisoners, many women forced onto ships. Some actually went voluntarily, promised that if they worked for a period of time in the newfound lands, that they would be given an opportunity to walk the land, and were basically used and degraded so badly as human beings. When they tried to rebel, the conditions that they faced was just unparalleled to anything that I can imagine would happen or would go on in the mass nowadays. So I think everyone, like I said, I think everyone needs to read this book. I'm going to keep this in brief because there's so much that you can go into with this book. I can't really spoil it. There's nothing to spoil about this book, to be honest with you. You really need to read this and have an understanding. I found myself putting down this book a good few times, to be honest with you, and just really having a think about it. And one of the things that this book made me feel was extremely grateful for the conditions that I live in. And even now, to this day, under the circumstances that we live in, we're currently going through a global pandemic. To have basic shelter, food, and various things in your life, people back then didn't have that. It makes me eternally grateful to have these things. So what I'm trying to say is that I think that it's a brilliantly written book. It's got many good reviews online. It also has a couple of audios on YouTube, so maybe if you don't want to buy the book, I think the book is roughly around about €8 now. I got it a few years ago. Kind of really only managed to get around to it and finish it there last year. And yeah, so you could listen to all the audio versions on YouTube if you don't want to buy it. And I would say that it's a somewhat of a masterpiece, a very sad and poignant masterpiece, to be honest with you. But it's a book that I'm very grateful for the artist to put out there. And a lot of people don't want to touch on this stuff, and it's very sad. But anyway, that's it. My in brief review for today. I hope everyone is staying safe and keeping very well. Have a lovely day. Take care. All the best.